All right. How we all doing today? Mitch Riback here with actually a new program I just rolled out called Freedom Coaching. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But basically, what I made a decision on this year to do was transform realtors' lives from being reactive realtors to proactive business people. And one of the things that I've seen over the years, and it's been nonstop and consistent, is most realtors that I know, most team leaders that I know, most brokers that I know don't really have a business. They have a crappy job that they own. And as you can see here, that's me when I had a full head of hair. Um, that's that's everybody's life. Right? If you're selling a lot of homes, 30, 40 plus homes a year, your life isn't very fun. And it's kind of why I wrote my new book called The Big Lie. It's the reason why I'm doing coaching now to teach agents freedom, because it's really important that you spend your life really enjoying it instead of just working all the time, because it's not fair. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. So, are you constantly chasing money? And that's the one thing I see in common with everybody that I talk to. They're always chasing money. They're always chasing the next deal. There's again, they never build a business. Most of the guys and girls that I know, ladies and gentlemen, if I want to be politically correct, which I never am, they are generally working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. And how do I know that? Because I was that guy. I've worked in, forever. So I'm going to give you a quick background. I'm a chronic entrepreneur. For those of you that don't know me, I just opened my 27th company, which is my coaching company, Freedom Coaching, which we're just in the process of launching right now. And the entire life that I lived, I thought was the way it was supposed to be until I turned 60. I know I look like I'm 25, but I'm not. And when I turned 60, as we do when we hit these 10-year increments of our life, because if you're 30, you did that. If you're 40, you did that at 40. If you did it 50, you did it at 50. I'm assuming I'll do it at 70 when I hit 70, if I live that long. Hopefully I do. But when I turned 60, I looked back at my life and I realized this is hard to talk about sometimes, but I realized that I missed the most important aspects of my life because I was always chasing money. I cannot tell you 5 things that I did with my children. My children are in their 40s now. And I can't tell you 5 things I did. It doesn't mean that I wasn't there, but I was never present. I'm with my grandson's baseball games. I got a game tonight all the time. And you know what I see all the time? I see parents that are in their 30s and 40s with their phones to their face the whole time the games are going on. Nobody's present anymore. In our business, it's even worse because our phone doesn't stop all the time. And why is that? Because you're always chasing money instead of chasing freedom. So, and then worse, what happens if something happens to you? Is your if you, God forbid, something happens to you, and we have people on here that know what I'm talking about. How does your business survive? How does your family survive financially if you're the breadwinner in the family, right? And you don't know because things happen that we don't expect to happen, and they do. And again, a good friend of mine, Trent, is on here, and he's going through that right now with fighting leukemia. And I'm really glad you're on here, Trent. I know you're in Houston right now, fighting the battle, and I know you're going to win because you're awesome. But you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so it's really important to build a business that's not 100% relying on you. That if something happens to you, and I'm not talking about dying because dying's easy because you're done, but I'm talking about more about being incapacitated and not able to work anymore. So what happens? So we're going to address all that in what I call my new modern team. But before you can do that, you have to start really looking at your business and wondering if you've actually built a business. And I can tell you from coaching, and I've personally coached several thousand people, and I've trained tens of thousands of agents over the last 20 years I've been coaching. And everybody's the same. And I don't care if you're selling 5 homes a year or if you're selling 100 homes a year. It doesn't mean that you're successful if you're selling 100 homes a year. It means you're selling a lot of homes and you're making a lot of money, hopefully. However, what are you missing? What are you sacrificing? And one of the parts of that, when I made that big awakening at 60 years old, I said, why did I really do it? Now, in my youth, I told myself, well, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my kids. But you know that's actually a big lie, also. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for my ego. I was doing it for me, for my satisfaction, my wanting to be the guy, want to be the big successful guy. And by the way, I was. But again, I missed my entire life chasing money and not chasing freedom. I wish I had me to talk to 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So let's talk about building your foundation. First thing is, and this is basic stuff for anybody, whether you're a new agent or not a new agent or an experienced agent, because honestly, I deal with agents every day that are selling 50, 60, 70, 100 homes a year, and they're not even doing what I'm telling you right now. They're still running a reactive business. So what is your foundation? Your foundation is who is your customer and where are they, right? And you have to build a database to do this because what business are we in? There's a couple things I want to talk about. What business are we in? We're in the lead generation business. And if you don't think you're in the lead generation business, you're in the wrong business because every business out there is a lead generation business. That's number one. Number two, why do you think people will use you as a realtor? Maybe throw inside the if I already coached you on this, don't write it in there, but write in the chat box why do people use you as a realtor? And I'll wait till we get a couple of responses. Come on, somebody write something there. Why do people use you as a realtor? All right, everybody's shy today. Nobody wants to write. I'm going to tell you just from time because I don't want to keep time. Here we go. They're in my sphere, but Pat, you know that. Top of mind, Trent, you know that. These are the people that are that I've been coaching that are answering the question. All right, it's okay. The reason why people will use you is because you happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying or selling. Yes, will you get referrals from people sometimes? Yes, you will, 100%. But the reality is, I can go in the grocery store today. If you've been talking to someone that you even sold a house to, and you haven't talked to them in 3 months. I'm just using that as a number. It could be 2 months, but 3 months. And I meet them in the grocery store, and I do my pickup line for real estate, which is, "Hey, how's your day going today?" And they'll say, it's going great. How's your day?" "Oh, it's crazy. I'm in the real estate business." And they'll say, "Oh, you're in the real estate business. How's the market?" Every single time. And then I'll say, "Well, it's kind of crazy right now. One of the things I do for my friends is set them up on a market update every month. Would you like me to do that so you can keep on top of the market here?" And almost everybody says yes. That's how I add people to my database every day. But if you talked to that person 2 months ago and they said to me, "Well, we're thinking about selling our home," I will guarantee you, no matter how much they love you, I'm going to get that. I'm going to sell that house. And that's because you were not in front of them. So the reality is people use you because you happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying or selling. That's it, right? It's all it is. And again, you can have the best relationships in the world with these people, and it doesn't matter, right? Now, and I can tell you, I've sold over 1,000 homes, at least 975 different customers, and I can tell you, I don't stay in touch with my database anymore because I don't want to sell any homes. Nobody calls me, right? I mean, I get a few, 3 or 4 a year, where I used to get 40 plus a year. Your database is how you're going to grow your business. That's how you're going to build this foundation so that you never have to struggle with business anymore. I'm working with a couple of agents right now in my organization at EXP that are struggling. They've killed it the last 10 years, the last 8 years, and then the last year and a half or so when the market started shifting, their business is going to crap because the reality is you could easily build a sustainable business. But the past 10 years, the market was good. Everybody you raise your hand, you got a sale. It was pretty simple. I want you all to take a look at your phone real quick. And again, some of you guys have heard this before, but this is so important. Open up your phone. If you have an iPhone, it's in your, open up your contacts. It's in your top left-hand thing. It says list. I'm not exactly sure where it is on a Android, but do me a favor in the chat, right? How many people do you have in your phone? Don't use this as an example of how much business you have sitting in your phone. 442. Somebody, two people have the exact same amount. 6,181. 500. All right. So I'm going to use Scott with his 6,000 because I like Scott. He's going to be upset that I do this. But anyway, so Scott has 6,000 people in his phone. That means he has 857 deals in the next 12 months. Lucy, 3,800 people in your phone. Right now, I know some of these are realtors and some I'm not going to buy. Lucy, you have 542 sales in the next 12 months sitting in your phone. Bob, you have 2,600 people in your phone. You have 371 transactions sitting in your phone. I go on and on and on with these guys. But here's the reality. Where's your customer? They're sitting in your phone. We all have that. The smallest one there was 400 and change, and that would be 28 sales sitting in your phone. Here's the statistics, NAR statistic. 7 out of 100 people in your database are going to buy or sell a home this year. Now, more importantly, and I'll use the easy number, we'll say you have 400 people in your database. That actually gives you access to 100,000 people. Why is that? Because everybody knows 250 people. I'm not going to get into the conversion of this today. This is not about that today. But I want you to think about that for a minute, that if you're not building a foundation of your business, you don't have a business. It's the only thing that I've done this. Every single business I've ever owned over the last 45 years is who's my customer and where are they? And almost all of them are sitting in your phone. And it's not that hard. You export your contacts, go on to YouTube and go, how do I export my contacts into Excel spreadsheet? And then put them into an email program and then stay in touch with them twice a month. Again, I'm not going to go into the whole all that today because we only have an hour. But here's the thing. All right, I see. I skipped my thing. Everybody knows 100 realtors, so they're only going to use you because you have to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying and selling. And by the way, I skip through slides all the time because my ADD brain doesn't do it. It's all about being in front of them when they're thinking about buying and selling. All right, here's your typical list of agent. This is what everybody looks like, right? You're running around, your head's cut off, you're chasing money. You got, if you're a mom or a dad, you got a baby on one end, or you're trying to be a dad or a mom. I work with a lot of moms that are out there with kids trying to navigate this business, working 80 hours a week. It is not a sustainable life. And frankly, are you having fun? I mean, if you're selling that many homes, is it really fun? Is it fun not knowing that you're missing your entire family do what they do and stuff like that? It's not. So here's your typical realtor, team leader, even broker. When I had my brokerage, I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. Well, even when I sold 80 homes a year, I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. When I was a team leader, I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. And when I was a broker, I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. And I was missing out on everything that was important in life. I was going to events. I was not there mentally. I remember having a conversation with my wife once. It was a really good conversation. And well, I think it was really good because I wasn't really listening. And she's talking away. And I'm going to say she was talking for about 10 minutes, right? And she looks at me finally. She says, "You're not really listening to me, are you?" And I said, "No, I honestly haven't heard a word you said." And that's all of us, right? If you're selling at a big level, 30, 40, 50 plus homes a year, working to 60, 70, 80 hours a week, whatever you're doing at home, you're not there. And I can tell you this from the heart because I was that guy. Man, when I sold 80 homes a year, when I was running my team and then my brokerage, I can't tell you anything. I don't remember much. And then I couldn't even go on vacations. And if I went on vacations, I had to refer out my customer and I'd make 25% for referring out my customer. And I worked so hard to have those customers, right? So it's hard to even take a break. I think the biggest break I ever took as a broker, I took 16 days off and went to Europe with my general manager, Patton. She's one of my best friends, and her husband, along with my wife. But that was it. Most of my vacations were 3-day vacations, 5-day vacations. And you know what happened the entire time? My phone rang and my wife got upset with me. It was terrible. If 50% of your business is buyers, right, you'll never get out of this grind, right? It's going to be that way because the biggest time suck of our business is showing buyers homes. Listings are pretty simple. We did the numbers on it once. If you're doing everything from start to finish as a buyer agent, you're working about 8 to 10 hours of total time. If you're a listing agent, you're working 2 to 3 hours of total time. Now it might be a little more for you and a little less for you. It doesn't matter, but those are just general numbers. But that's really the amount of time. So you're working 3 times to 4 times more with a buyer than you are with a listing, right? So I want you to stop chasing money and I want you to start chasing freedom. And this is what everything I'm teaching is about these days. It's about changing your life so you can enjoy life and make your business work for you, not you work for your business. Remember, I said most people don't have businesses, they have crappy jobs. And by the way, that's not just realtors. I know so many people that own small business working 100 hours a week, making 100 grand a year, 200 grand a year, whatever the number is, not relevant. And they're missing out on their life. That was me. And by the way, my mentors that I had when I was growing up, and I was blessed to have five mentors, my dad and then four different business owners. They were all amazing people. And they taught me that. They said, Mitch, work 80 to 100 hours a week, you'll be successful. And they were 100% right. I was very successful, but I wasn't really because I missed out my life. I don't want you to do that. So this is my modern team model. So in a typical modern team, a typical team model, you have agents on your team. And I'm going to give you the scenario. And again, I might be skipping slides here, but I don't care. On a typical team model, because a lot of you guys that are selling a lot of homes, that's your next step, right? That's what you were told. Um, if you are, we're told sell a lot of homes, start a team, start a brokerage, and that's what takes away your freedom. When I was selling a lot of homes, I had no freedom. I started my team for leverage and freedom. And don't take offense to this if you knew it, but I got babysitting in prison. And then I said, well, I need more money to feed the beast. So I had to start my own brokerage so I could keep more of the money instead of paying my broker that I had at the time, and got up to 120 agents. And it was terrible. I mean, I love my agents, don't get me wrong. I love being the guy. I hated my life. And worse, most teams and most brokers don't make any money at all. Right? My best year as a broker with 120 agents, I made a $200,000 profit. I made more money selling homes with a $2,000 month overhead by myself. Right? I was still working 80 or 100 hours a week, but I had nobody calling me. When I had my brokerage, 10 to 15 calls every single day. So my modern team model includes these employees: an assistant, which is the most important person, inside sales agent, because someone's going to work your database. Because we know, again, don't take this wrong. If you're the one that does, nobody works their database. You need a transaction coordinator, and then you're going to have agents that you have relationships with that they're going to do tasks for you. I'm going to give you a scenario so this makes even more sense to you. And that's what your team will start looking like. So in a typical team model, so if you're thinking about starting a team, I'm going to give you what a typical team model is. So you generate leads, you're the rainmaker, right? As the rainmaker, you or your assistant, or in this case, an inside salesperson, is going to work those leads. You're going to find an agent now in your team, and maybe you have 6 agents on your team, 3 agents, 10 agents, 20, whatever the number is, doesn't matter. That's going to go show property to that lead. That agent goes out and they show property. Now remember, if you're on a team, you are probably new or newer. Probably. I'm not saying there's not successful agents that are on teams, but generally speaking, you're going to be newer and newer. That's the majority of teams out there, at least in my experience over the last 20 years. Now, I'm going to have Bill go out and show property. Bill's going to go out. He's going to go show houses, come back and say, hey, they want to write an offer on the 555 Main Street. Well, my assistant's going to write the offer, right? And I'm going to negotiate the offer, and Bill's going to learn from us doing this and watching all this. And then Bill's going to go to the inspection. Then I'm going to renegotiate if need be. And then Bill's going to go to the closing. Bill puts in, and I'm going to use easy math here, about 5 hours of his time. Right? About 5 hours. Yeah, because remember, the closing coordinator is going to deal with all the other stuff. So he's going to work about 5 hours of actually showing property, going to an inspection, and going to closing. And it might be 6 or 7, but I'm going to use 5 for easy math. On a $400,000 sale, and I never thought about this, by the way, until about a year and a half, 2 years ago. On a $400,000 sale, I'm going to give them 50% of my commission, right, for showing property for me. I'm giving them $5,000. Now, I don't know how many of you run business out there, but I've never paid an employee $1,000 an hour. Is anybody if you paid an employee $1,000 an hour, please write that in the checks. I want to know what you did. But we pay those people, and again, wonderful people, but you're paying unskilled labor because they're not skilled realtors yet, $1,000 an hour. When I looked at that, I said, that's the stupidest business model in the world. Because worse is my agents resented me because I only gave them 50%. Think about it. And that's your typical team and broker model. My agents would come to me all the time, and I love my agents, but they come to me all the time saying, I want more money. I'm like, well, they're my leads. I don't care. I want more money. I want 75%. I'm going to go over here. And then when you finally do get people successful as a team leader or a broker, they leave. So there's no win to having a team, and there's no money in it because you're constantly chasing people to be successful, and you're paying them too much money to show property. So with our modern team, we have this staff now that is no agents. I have no agents on my team. I have an assistant, an ISA, inside salesperson, and a transaction coordinator. And that runs my entire business. So the assistant, I only would have a licensed assistant because I want to have their pay a base plus bonus, right? So base and every year is different. We have people from all over the country here today, so I'm not going to go over different pricing models, but it's whatever it is. Like locally here, it would probably be for an assistant, probably a $30,000 base, maybe $35,000 base, and 10% or 5%. But they handle all the paperwork. They also will schedule the showings and manage the agents that are out there showing property for me. And then they manage the transaction coordinator. They're my assistant. They also might do my social media. It just depends on how busy you are. So, but my assistant is my right hand person, right? In my case, Pat, who's on this call, she's my right hand, my left hand, right, and my right leg also. But your assistant is your key person. They're going to help you run the business. They're also going back to what I said earlier. If something happens to you, they know your business intimately better than anybody else. I'm going to use Pat as an example. Pat's been with me for 19 years. If something happened to me, Pat can literally step in and run my business. She knows everything about my business. So your assistant really is your business partner, right? And I adore Pat. She's literally been there with me every step of the way. And if you know Pat, putting up with me is not an easy subject, an easy task to do, but she does, and I change on a dime, and she's right there with me, and I love her. So your assistant is your key hire. The next one is your inside salesperson. Your inside salesperson is um, your inside salesperson is the person who's going to manage your database. Again, licensed. And I want to talk to you about this real quick from this because a licensed inside salesperson is mandatory in my book. I used to own an inside sales company. We did lead conversion for 165 brokerages and teams all over North America. And here's the challenge with that. When they're not licensed, they can't talk about real estate. Now, I try to look at things from the consumer standpoint. When they're licensed, they can sit there. So if I'm talking to you on the phone, you say, well, I'm really interested in 555 Main Street. I can pull up that and have a whole conversation about that area, that neighborhood, that house, and talk to you. So I like local licensed inside salespeople. Are you going to pay them a little more than somebody from the Philippines? 100%. 100%. However, it's going to be worth its weight in gold. And I'll give you some numbers on that. With our inside sales company, we did, let me go back. I'll just use registration leads, forgetting about your database for a second. They converted about 1%, a little bit less. If you're really good, 2%. We're getting between 2 and 3% for our customers with our ISA company. But in-house, because my brokerage, we use licensed people, we were getting 6%. Big difference, double the money, double the revenue. So we pay base, and again, that's going to be market related. Locally here, I'd be paying people between $2,000 and $2,500 a month as a base, and then 5% bonus. And they're going to work your database. They're going to organize your database. They're going to maintain your database. They're going to call you past customers. They're going to call you Sphere. How many of you have had a past customer that has listed their house with somebody else or bought a house with somebody else? I have way too many that I like to admit. It's because you were not in front of them when they were thinking about buying or selling. This does that for you. They're also going to attract the leads that you give out to buyer agents to see what's going on because their paycheck, because you're going to give them a bonus, is based on that. My goal for an inside salesperson is, again, I can only talk about my market, was about 60 grand a year, 60, 70 grand a year. They're making 60, 70 grand a year. They stay. My ISAs, Julie was with me for 16 years. She's now the director of ISA services for EXP. Marlena was with me for 10, and Tiffany was with me for 8, roughly. So they didn't leave because they were making good money. How do you find an inside salesperson? Pretty simple. Do an email blast to every realtor in your area and say, who's looking to stay in real estate? I'm looking for someone that will call my database and help me with my database. And it's pretty simple. Trent's right. Everybody needs an ISA. If you are doing internet lead marketing right now, and you're not using an ISA, you are just throwing your money away. I wouldn't waste your money. Okay, so that's your inside sales agent. Transaction coordinator, I don't really need to go over this. Everybody knows what a transaction coordinator is. Here's my theory on transaction coordinators. You should never be doing, it used to be $10 an hour jobs. Now they're 15 or $20 an hour jobs. You should never do 15 or $20 an hour jobs. You're the CEO of your company. You know what I don't do? I don't do 15 to $20 an hour jobs. Right? You should never do that. And when you hire a transaction coordinator, uh, immediately, I would do 3 to 5 transactions when you're first starting out. If you've done more than 5 transactions, you know how to do a transaction now. You should not ever do that again. How do you value your time? When I was selling houses, and this is, when houses are a lot cheaper than they are now, um, I had to make at least $250 an hour, or else I wouldn't do it. So why? And back then, an assistant was, I think I paid my assistant 10%, and my data person, data manager. We didn't do ISA stuff back then. That was 2001, 2, and 3. But they're $8 an hour. So that's what it was now. Now everything's $15 to $20 an hour, but it doesn't matter. The prices are so much more. But your transaction coordinator takes everything from contract to close. So you should never be involved with that unless it's an emergency that you have to be involved with that. And then there's the agents. So when I have a buyer getting ready to buy a house locally here. When they tell me when they're buying, it might not be for another couple months, but they're buying up to $600,000. And so when that time comes, I'll find one of my local agents here that's newer, and I'll say, "How would you like to make $25 an hour? Show houses for me." And if they do write an offer on that, I will give you a 10% bonus. But all you do is show them property. When I put an email to my group here locally, I generally get 5, 6, 7, 8 people respond. I'll show, because people don't mind. Now, I got yelled at recently for this, and from another agent who's successful said, "Well, that's not nice to new agents." Actually, it keeps them in business. Think about this. So it's why do people leave the business? Because they run out of money. They're not making anything. So I'm giving people a paycheck, right? And I'm also giving them a bonus. But instead of paying $1,000 an hour, remember that number? Doesn't that blow your mind? $1,000 an hour for someone to show property for me? I'm now only paying about $1,200 on that same $400,000 home. I'm making more money, right? And I'm only paying out $1,200. However, that's $250 an hour still. Think about that. I'm still paying $250 for something really to just go open doors for me. But they're going to show homes. They're going to go to the inspections. They're going to attend closings. It may not be the same agent every time. You might just have some agent that shows homes. You might have one that goes to inspections. If I was selling full time right now, I would have a listing agent that did all my listing appointments. And I would literally probably be able to sell 80 homes a year, working maybe 20 hours a week, right? Maybe. But this is your typical modern. This is your new modern team model that will change your life dramatically. And I don't say that lightly. I can't reiterate how many people I know that their lives are terrible. And here's an exercise you should do. I call it the mirror to my success, mirror to your success. Go home. Maybe you're home today. When we get off the call, go in your bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror. Look deep into your eyes and say, "Am I really happy?" Now, and don't confuse happiness with making money, because it's not the same thing. And again, a lot of I know, I don't know a lot of you who are on it, but some of you I know, and you're all a lot younger than I am. And you think this is like the whole, wow, this is amazing. I'm making all this money, and it's not. I mean, I've made more money than actually than anybody that I know, um, and yet that didn't buy me the happiness that I was seeking. You know what buys me the happiest now? Hanging out with my grandkids, going to my grandson's baseball game, playing music with my granddaughter and my grandson, um, being able to have a great conversation with my wife, shutting my phone off at 6 o'clock at night, not working weekends. That's happy. Playing golf. I mean, I work 35 hours a week, but I only work 35 hours a week. And I'm able to do all my business in that time frame. And you can too. So why do this? Reclaim your life. Get your freedom. Get your time back. Make more money. But most importantly, stop chasing money and start chasing freedom. Because really, that's what this is all about. This should be your life, bright and sunny, and pools and jet skis and hanging out with the family and Florida. We were like the guy in the shorts there. But this is life. All right. So I want to open up to questions. Who has any questions about this? I keep my webinars, by the way, to 30 to 45 minutes, 30 minutes of webinars, which is right 30-minute mark right now. and any time for questions and answers. While you're thinking, if you have any questions, and by the way, you got me for 15 more minutes. If you have questions about anything, just put it out there. On November 6th, from 1:30 to 4:30, we're doing a live event, which is really going over this in a lot more detail. It's a 3-hour event. We have myself talking about the modern team. I'm going to talk about this stuff in a lot more depth. Hiring ISAs, hiring assistants, everything you need to know about growing your modern team. We have Julie Inman, who again was my sales manager for 16 years, and she's going to be talking about how to hire an ISA, how to train an ISA. If for no other reason, if you don't want to do the modern team, you need to come just because you need to understand how to do an ISA appropriately because it's so important. And then we have Sarah coming in um, from Indiana, and she's my partner with the Showing Team. Showing Team is the software that we use to work the modern team, and she's going to come in and tell her story. It's an amazing story of how that product came about, and I'm going to actually tell you how we met. And then she's going to do a demo on the product so you can see that product and how it could literally change everything that you do in your life right now. So I think we have a QR code next slide. Yeah, so there's a QR code there. So if you're in Florida, if you're out of Florida, you're welcome to come to. This is located in Viera, which is part of Melbourne. If you're not local here, we're 2.5 hours from Tampa. We're an hour from Orlando. Again, this is going to be a great event. We're really excited about it. So there's a QR code if you want to take a second and get on there. You can register and show up. There's no cost. I don't charge for this stuff. If you know me, my goal in life is to help as many people change their lives, whether it be selling more homes or any aspect of your business. So one question here we got is, where can I find an ISA? So as I said earlier, ISAs are really easy to find because there's a lot of realtors that want to stay in the business, love to talk about real estate, but a part-time, they don't have the time to be out showing property. They can't work weekends. I talked to an agent the other day that can't work weekends. So, I'm not sure if she's going to make it in the real estate world, but I wouldn't do anything with 5 of those because they're not going to be licensed. So I would email agents. And then keep in mind when you're hiring an ISA, it's all about personality. Doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter how they dress, right? It's all about personality. And so I think that's what we got here. And then since nobody's got any questions, here's a question. I'm a new agent of 10 months. It hasn't done too bad. I have 11 transactions closed and one more closing in a month. I still struggle with lead gen. I'm looking for training how to accomplish that. What do you suggest? So we are in the lead generation business. Remember I said earlier, build your foundation first. You have, and I'll ask you how many contacts did you have on your phone? Right? Was that Richard, right? Yeah, Richard, how many contacts do you have on your phone? 600. So that's 42 sales sitting in your phone. Export those. Get their email addresses, which you can do by simply texting them, "Hi, Bill, just updating my contact list. What's your email?" And then start sending them a twice a month email. The first about it's really simple. I'll tell you real quick. The first email that goes out is just market updates, but it ends with, "As you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I can really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, please send me their contact info." That's it. The second one is top 10 things to do in your area, right? Really simple. These are really simple and proven. But we email twice a month because now you're top of mind all the time. And the longer they're in your database getting this, the more top of mind you will be. And you will generate sales. Are you going to get 42 out of those? Are you going to get all those 42 transactions? Maybe, doubtfully. But what if you got half of those? Those are things you were not using before, right? So easy stuff. And you always have with that same email. Scott, can I do an example of $4,000 buyer at 2.5%? It's actually too long to do on this, Scott. But basically, you're going to pay out 25% in commission, plus a little bit of hourly. I'm going to be going over that at my event on November 6th. So we're going to break all that down, break all the numbers down, because I think it's really important that people understand the numbers. But instead of paying out 50%, because remember, when you're paying out 50%, you're still paying your inside salesperson, you're still paying your assistant, and you're still paying your transaction coordinator. You just have less money to work with. So again, the question was, you have an example of what a $400,000 buyout looks like at 2.5%. We know it's $10,000 in commission, right? But the reality is you're paying your assistant, your ISA, and your TC anyways. This just gives you more. So instead of having 5,000 to deal with now on a typical thing, you have $3,800 more revenue, which will easily pay all your other people. Okay. All right. Other questions? Hold on a second. Yeah, great. Yeah, do that. It's great stuff. All right. Any other questions, real quick, before we call it a day here? I hope you come to my event. I'm really excited about it. We'll be doing these all around the country. This will be our first one doing this. We're really excited about helping people change their lives. If you have any questions at all, there's my email address. That's my book, The Big Lie. You can get it on Amazon. Just put my name in to Amazon, Mitch Ribak, and this will come up along with my other books. And it's life changing. Freedom is what it's all about. If you're building a business and you don't have freedom, you're doing it wrong. I hate to burst your bubble there, but you're doing it wrong. Stop doing it wrong. All right, everybody. You have a great day, and reach out to me if I can help you in any way. JC, we are not sure yet. We're just starting to put all these together, and you'll get an email on our next one. We're working with different real estate boards around the state right now, booking times to come in and do live events because we really want to do a lot of these. Anyways, thanks, guys. Everybody, take care. We'll talk to y'all soon. Be good.